Well, this is a fun day in Kansas City. Glad you guys are with us. Everything is changing, and there are some theories out there that we have to squash tonight. I'm not very happy about it, but we're going to have a good time. Welcome to RGR Football. Looks like I'm having a connection thing here too. But Dan, what's the news of the day, and what do you think of it while I try to fix this?
All right, so there has been talk raised among Chiefs Kingdom that they should apparently seriously consider trading L'Jarius Sneed. And, this is the whole ideology of what really Bill Belichick created. And honestly, it helped keep them relevant for a very long period of time and to keep them in the fight. But I know that there's argument over whether or not it was because he was always just turning over players. I know he paid some of his guys too. But the idea simply being that you keep trading away guys that are valuable pieces because you have identified a position that you feel comfortable continuing to replenish. Bill Belichick pretty much had that at every single level of the defense. He was like, okay, I can do this whenever I feel like it. The Chiefs have really felt like they've established, okay, corner, safety, and defensive line, we've got a pretty good idea of the guys that we want that we can churn in and out of here. Like we can kind of figure that out. So now, L'Jarius Sneed's up for a contract extension. He's probably worth a first plus. Let's see what we can get. And that's the idea right now is because, in the AFC Championship game, L'Jarius Sneed didn't play most of that game. And guess what? It came out on top. Why not? Right? Why not?
I can't help it. I just can't help it. I had this, and you guys are going to hear me go off on Locked On Chiefs. I'm going to try not to do that here because I know you're all here to talk about this. I've never heard anything crazier because the whole concept that this team is built on is draft and retain your talent so you don't have to go do the free agent thing. This plays into it. Now, I know money's tight right now. I get that. But I'm just going to say this. You'll hear it on Locked On Chiefs too. In fact, Dan, I'm not even going to make you live up to this. Okay, this is all me. This is not Dan's opinion. This is my opinion. Do you remember 177? Do you? This ain't a problem. The cap is not messed up. We are okay. And I think as much as it's good to entertain, like you said, Dan, value outside across the league, yes. There is no more value than what you get now at an early contract signing than you're going to get later.
Be careful.
This is the thing. Yes, those guys held up. You're absolutely right. That's kudos to the rookie class and what they were able to do. But you can't plan on that every year. And while you do have three, you really need four at this point, right? You got to start three corners. You need that fourth. And so I think it's a risk I don't think anyone in the organization is willing to take. I certainly am not. Now, we all know I'm the old school guy. If you have an opportunity, maybe it's not something I would normally think of, or maybe some of the older guys would. The Brandon Beans, the Brent Features, maybe they're a little more forward-thinking. I still don't think, when you break it down, that it's one of the pillar positions. He's at corner. Mm-hmm. He's young, and he's performed extremely well. I just think that adds up to a scenario where if there's anyone on the roster that you're going to continue to pay and move forward, it's going to be L'Jarius, despite what he might have value-wise across the league. Because you're one injury away from being down to three, and they're young guys and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's all kinds of bad scenarios that we don't need to get into that part. But I just want to ask you this. Are there four players on this roster that are more valuable than L'Jarius Sneed to the Chiefs? Because I only count three.
But let's go through this because I think some people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. And this is what this is all about. This is my opinion. Harrison Butker is more valuable than L'Jarius Sneed because he continuously, in high leverage situations, hits game-winning field goals. Is one of the greatest kickers and field goal makers in the NFL right now. Especially in terms of high leverage situations. He kicked the game-winning field goal in the AFC Championship game. He kicked the game-winning field goal in the Super Bowl. He has kicked multiple game-tying playoff field goals. So in terms of equating to wins and adding points, I would say, and I would argue, that Harrison Butker is more valuable in terms of win generation than L'Jarius Sneed. That's again, more outside the box thinking than I think most people are ready for. But that's where I would lean with that. So I do think there are 4, but he's right there.
Because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be one of the people that tells you you're crazy.
That's fine. And that's
Because
fine.
he's just a damn kicker.
See, you say that, but the Ravens would not trade Justin Tucker for just another kicker.
That's true. That is very, very true. And I know Holly and Tracy both brought it up. Like, yeah, like this, it's out of left field. And I really do feel, and I'm not going to call anybody out. Y'all got to make your living and all that. This is clickbait. This is somebody making up a question that doesn't exist inside the organization. Brett Veach is not letting L'Jarius Sneed go. It would have to be so insurmountable a contract situation, or the one scenario that I could see is if they feel there's lasting medical effects from the concussions. It's the one scenario that I could see where they would entertain this. We haven't gotten any indication about that, and I don't know how we outside the organization ever would, but that's the one way.
There's two. If somebody came, we'll give you 2 firsts. Yeah, I would trade him. If somebody came and said, we will give you 2 first-round draft picks for L'Jarius Sneed. Okay, done. Boom, I'll take it. That's the only other. Okay. But no one's doing that. Like, no one's doing it.
Right. Because aside from the Harrison place kicker argument, and then I know Holly's got something to say about that. Sorry, Holly. Well, I look forward to your comment here in a moment. Outside of that, in my opinion, there is the all-star alien QB1. Yes, I had an alarm going. Sorry. There's the all-star alien Patrick Mahomes. Clearly, generational talent. There is Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Generational talent. Hall of Famer in the making. There is the aforementioned playing younger than he is Chris Jones. That yes, we have a contract issue. We know that's coming, and I do agree that is a concern with everybody who's out there going, well, Ryan, they got to pay him. Yeah, I know. I agree. I would argue that someone else could argue that Joe Thuney or Nick Bolton is on that list ahead of L'Jarius Sneed. I personally would not.
I think Creed might be there too. He's
fair enough, but we don't have to worry about Creed yet. We got
no for sure.
3 more seasons with Creed, right? Or at least 2 under control. So yeah.
2,
so no, I'm just talking about like right now.
Oh, right now. Okay, I get it.
In terms of people with high contracts or contract situations, there's only 3 people more important than L'Jarius Sneed in this situation right now. They are 29th in spending in the secondary across the league. If there's anywhere that they can afford to spend money, it's in the secondary right now, given the fact of what we're going to see over the next 4 years with all this. I would argue that it would be, unless, like you said, it is 2 1s, and good Lord, I'd have to have change too. I'd need somebody's firstborn on top of that. There's no way that happens. I would argue that it is more likely a scenario that the team is planning to tag and trade Orlando than it is to trade L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah. Because
they are both pillar positions, one of the top 4. They command a similar area at the top of their each individual positional APY per year in contracts. I think that is the much better and more likely scenario and hurts the Chiefs less in the outcome, in the net, than if you lose a player of his talented corner. Am I crazy?
No, I think you're right. And especially because he's ascending. He's not even at his peak yet. Like, he's not playing the best football of his career. He's just getting better every single year. And I really think this year he was like, okay, I need to be the guy. I need to be on the outside. Let me be the guy on the outside in base. I'll slide down in nickel. I'll follow a guy if I have to. I'll do what I have to do. I want to be the guy. And that's huge. For a corner's mentality to say, no, I need to be the guy, that those are your alpha corners. Guys that say, I want to be the number one. I want to be on the number one. I want to cover them every single time. Yes. That's the mental step that he took forward this year, realizing, okay, yeah, I'm going to be the vocal leader of this guy, but I'm also mentally going to be the leader of the secondary. And he's really done that this year.
I will say this too. Like, they brought in Justin Reed to be that leader, right? And as we went down the pike, everybody who talked about the DB room talked about L'Jarius being that guy, being the older guy, even though he's not.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very good point that I didn't even think to bring up. It's multiplying all the guys around you. I will say this: if they trade L'Jarius Sneed, not only will I do something stupid or say something stupid on this show and probably every other show that I'm on as well, I will say this: it will hurt them in the long run because whatever they make up in draft capital, they will lose in performance from that rookie class because they don't have him as their mentor.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with that. Not at all.
Okay, good. Then I'm glad we're on the same page. Now, next year, we might be having the same argument about Nick Bolton and Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. I mean, they're all, and that's the balance here. And that's why it comes back to organizational philosophy of you draft and hold on to your talent every time that you can. And I think that this is worth it. So,
yeah, I'm with you.
Folks, don't be too alarmed. I do think that this is somebody trying to make some smoke. And clearly it's happened because even Carrington picked it up. And Carrington's got a pretty even-keeled approach to this. I like talking with Carrington, but I saw that coming and I'm like, no, this is ridiculousness. It hurts you in the long run, especially because I think that he could go elsewhere. Could he get $18 million a year? Yeah, probably. I think at that point, it's a little bit of projection up here, but that's on track. Will he demand 20 from the Chiefs? No, I don't think that he will. So you do it now before he gets to the last season out and he's a total,
that's it.
Wild West. And you get it done cheaper in the end for 3 seasons from now. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, there's no way to know. I don't even think he's going to get 18 million now. I think he's probably closer to 16. Like if we're being real, yeah. I don't necessarily think that he showed himself to be the top corner in the NFL.
No,
but I think that's coming, at least in terms
10.
of a top 5, possible still on the horizon. So if you're get there next year and guess what, you're paying him $15-16 million, you're like, hey, we got some extra money over here because we got this done now.
Hey, look, now we got an extra tackle we can develop.
Yeah, look at that. Weird.
Well, and I'll tell you this, there'll be people around the league. The majority of the teams around the league will say, you're a very good player, but you don't shut down and take away half the field. You're not an outside corner. You're a nickel. And I can find those guys cheaper. That's what will be the reaction.
Yep. That's it.
Okay. We're coming off the mountain. It's going to be okay. I'm going to calm down.
I knew I should
have done Locked On later tonight so I could calm down first because that got me riled up for this one. So welcome, folks. This is RGR Football. He's Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is what we do. We talk literal sense about football and the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of you are our regulars, but if you're not, please like, sub, and hit the bell here, and we will get you all the information that you need that's real. We don't make stuff up. We don't make up headlines. We don't sugarcoat stuff. We're going to give you the real. And I think that's worth something today, especially in these crazy days where people are just making stuff up. So,
yeah, man.
That said, if you would like to sub, we would appreciate it. If you want some of the MVP gear, you can get it in the store down below in the description. And if you want draft stuff, and I know we already have stacked questions for draft comments, you can do that at NFL 33, where we release all of our stuff with our staff who are looking at all the draft prospects. Cole, why haven't they franchised Orlando Brown yet? There's phone calls going on right now to try and avoid it if they can. If they could get to a number, like what's the deadline? The 6th? So they have like 9 days.
7th, I think, yeah.
So if they get to it next Monday and they don't have to mess with the tag and they can get it worked out, cool. I think it'll be a last-second thing at the deadline, as will once he is tagged. If they have to get to the point where he's like, I'm not coming in until I get a long-term deal or something like that, that's when the trade talk starts and all that stuff. I don't think it's going to happen until camp. I don't think we're going to see Orlando Brown until camp. It's just the way I think it's going to work out.
Have you heard anything else about franchise tag players yet? I mean, no one else has been franchise tagged either. This is a process. Like, it takes some time. Ever since the season ended, they've been getting with Orlando Brown with his representation and talking about what this is going to look like. And as easy as it is to say, here's the tag, we'll slap it on, it's not that easy just to do that with a player that you just tagged last year. It's not. It's never going to be that easy. They are going to be like, well, all right, we just won a Super Bowl. I won one with you guys, and my play got better towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. So we need to figure this out. And that's where the conversation starts.
Let me give you guys a little inside baseball. Right now, guys are on planes. Teams will be flying tomorrow. Everybody's going to Indiana right now. Right now, today. Guys are starting to report. I think, DBs report first tomorrow, right?
Defensive line reports.
DLs? Okay.
Yesterday, I think.
Oh, really? Okay, so they're already going through the interviews and the medicals and all that.
So,
we will see them on the field on Thursday.
Yeah.
So what that means is there are executives and agents all over the landscape in Indianapolis right now They're having dinner. They're having shrimp cocktail. They're having drinks. It may be 3 a.m. at Steak and Shake if you guys really want to hunt them down, but it's going to happen. There are contract negotiations going on over beers, coffee, and stadium seats all over the place right now in Indiana. And that's the other reason why the tags haven't happened yet, because they're all trying to work things out face to face, because this is one of the big meeting points. Now, I've been to the combine multiple times, mostly when I had guys that were participating in it years ago. I haven't been recently. But from what I understand, it's even more about the networking, the getting deals done, the negotiating outside the negotiating window. So that's the main reason. Great question, Cole. And thank you, buddy. Good to see you. Sugary, thank you. How many players do you consider as untouchable for the Chiefs in 2023 and beyond? I'm not reading that right.
Why?
I'm not like as in untouchable as in can't be cut,
like
or
you
what?
can't be traded, and like teams come to you and you're like, and they want to trade. I mean, we know that Mahomes, Travis Kelce. I won't rule Chris Jones into that situation. I won't, because I don't think he's untouchable
because of his age.
And that would be another, we'll give you a first, second, two first kind of thing because of what he just did. And that's the only thing I'll say, because I don't think he's untouchable in that scenario. And I would also say Creed Humphrey is untouchable.
Agreed.
I would say Trent McDuffie is untouchable.
Agreed.
And Nick Bolton and Willie Gay. I don't think they would trade either of those two players.
I definitely agree on Nick Bolton. There's a little sliver in my brain that thinks maybe if they got a really good offer on Willie.
I was just, what they do in this defense is literally Nick Bolton and Willie Gay, how well they play together and how well they set off each other's weaknesses. Like, that's what they do best. So that's what makes me think he would be untouchable. Maybe you're wrong about that. And that's all I see.
Okay, fair enough. I would put, at this point, because of his evolution, I would put Trey Smith in that group too. Because as much as Creed is outplaying him, they see the future as that. Like, they wouldn't give it up just because he will be a building block of their future for the second half of the Mahomes contract. You said Karlaftis and McDuffie, right? I
didn't say Karlaftis.
You did not. Okay. I think he's probably untouchable at this point too, because he's outperformed what I think even their expectation was for him as a rookie. So maybe that changes next year. We'll see. But like right now, I don't think that they would consider it.
I think it more depends on, it's really more of an unknown kind of thing for everybody. Like, I don't know if anyone comes calling anyway. I don't know if the Chiefs are ready to move on after a year anyway. So I like, as much as I'm with you, I don't think he's an untouchable player.
Okay. Fair enough. Great question there, Sugary. You are a special K. Flyer, is the 2024 projected cap space at all a factor in this year's contract negotiations with Burrows, Hurts, etc.? We see the projection of 256. Yes, and the Chiefs are at 132 on it. So I will say no. The only thing that happens that Burrow and Hurts are really going to affect would be Mahomes, and Mahomes' contract is so rock solid. I don't think Patrick sees the end of it, by the way.
Yeah.
I do think they work an extension in years 6 or 7.
I think this was also a ploy for them to be like, okay, we've got time to figure out how this is going to work and continue to make it unique. It gives them time to. That's the biggest thing. We've heard now that the Chiefs have been working on this since he came to camp year 1. They are like, okay, this is going to command the biggest, best contract ever. Right. So we need to find ways to continue to not only give ourselves time, but to find other loopholes, different ways to access money, to hide it and make it maneuverable. And I think that that's what this contract also allows them to do. They're like, okay, let's do it now, get that done down the road so we can figure this out again.
I completely agree with you. And I think that's smart. And I think that tells you that an organization that thinks forward, knowing that they're drafting a franchise quarterback. So they set themselves up. Let's see. Terry, is Burns a free agent? No, he's not. He's under contract for 2023. That's why they're trying to move him now, because they lose some negotiating power when he reaches the end of his contract. So, no, he's at 16 mil on the cap. And that's why the Chiefs weren't interested. Is my pretty fair bet. Corbin, I hear you guys talk a lot about Isaiah Wynn. I live in Boston. I can tell you that people think he's a backup. They're fed up with him. I get that. the Chiefs offensive line plays drastically different than the Patriots offensive line does. And that's why I think the fit is better. But I appreciate you mentioning that though, Corbin, because people who watch him every single week, I value their opinions.
Yeah, I've got a few guys that I follow on Twitter. They're like analysts over there, and they're not
so
I don't like Isaiah Wynn.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. He has gained a little bit of what I think is bad weight. He would need to correct that, but he still was more athletic in a vertical set in particular than I think he's ever been asked to do for the Patriots. So we'll see. That's fair. I'm open to all critiques for him. All right, I got a few more, and then Dan's going to take over. If we restructure Mahomes this year, can this be done for the entire $30 million in savings, or can it be done partially? Yes, they have their option. The whole thing is built into the contract as they don't even have to ask Patrick. They just exercise it. And Patrick couldn't care less because all he gets is a giant check.
Right?
So he's happy with his base, and if they don't need it, they don't need it, because it does kick the money down the line a little bit. But if they need it in partial or in totality, they can just execute that. And hey, Patrick, here's a nice $30 million check. Enjoy that, buddy.
It's always nice.
Right? Jace, hope you're doing well. And my Lord, man, you have got to fix your avatar. I took that in the truck because I had nothing else that I could use as a thumbnail. You are a fan, and I appreciate you, brother.
That's awesome.
Thoughts on McDonald out of Iowa State? Very intriguing for me. I like him coming off the edge. I think he's got to be at a wide 9 to really affect the quarterback consistently. I think that works in Kansas City fairly often. I don't know about a first down, set the edge kind of Frank Clark replacement. That's the problem. Do you see anything different, Dan?
He's a situational pass rusher in a 4-3.
He's nice.
He's nice. That would, if we're talking about a guy who I believe is also going to blow up the combine and go in the second round. Probably closer to top 60 players being drafted. I think that's what you're looking at. For the Chiefs to take a situational pass rusher for their defense doesn't make sense to me when you need a real defensive end that's going to be able to come in and stop the run when he's got legitimate questions about stopping the run at he might weigh a little bit heavier than what he's going to play at, but we're talking like a guy who's going to play at 240.
Yeah. I mean, and think of it this way. Honestly, if he's rushing from a wide, that's fine. If he's in a base defense, he probably needs to be in a 3-4, just like BJ Olari and Nolan Smith. And the Chiefs just aren't in that business right now. Now, if we hear about them changing philosophies and letting Joe Cullen run the fronts, which I have seen coaches do before. I don't know if Spags would be open to it, but if Spags really just wants to go back to his roots, control the secondary, and let Cullen run the fronts, okay. They can still play as many smoke games as they want. Not a problem. So I'll be interested. But yeah, right now I don't think so, Jace. And folks, I want to say thank you for being here. I am going to dip because I have a kid thing that I got to take care of. Dan's going to ride it out with you, and then we'll be back to normal here the rest of the week. And Dan, thank you for the help.
Yeah, no problem. Just do what you got to do, man. This is a family event, and we all know what it's like.
All right. Thanks, brother. I'll talk to you all later.
All right. So, single man show now. Appreciate that, Jace. Now, thank you, Terry. Are we going to trade for Ramsey? I know that this is another thing. I've seen Peter King name the Chiefs as could be interested. This seems to me that Elsa and Anna did it. That's good. I've seen that being a thing. In my opinion, you're only trading for Jalen Ramsey if you're trading L'Jarius Sneed. So that's where I think this kind of rumor mill started from. I don't think it's going to happen myself. But again, I don't think that they don't want to trade their guy in L'Jarius Sneed. So I say no, but we'll find out because the offseason can be full of surprises. I appreciate that, Terry. James, thank you for the question. Should the Chiefs trade the second round, fourth round, and sixth round this year into the first round next to Seattle for the 20th and fifth round pick? The Chiefs use the 20th pick for Jackson Smith and Jigba. No. And that's not because I don't like JSN. I think he's going to be a fantastic receiver in the NFL. But that's a lot of picks to give up for one guy that you're going to, need to replenish your defense and keep the system going on the defense and on the offense. Specifically at wide receiver, offensive line, they're going to continue to have to develop some backups. Now you need 2 tackles probably. You don't know what's going to happen with Lucas Niang. You have defensive line concerns, defensive tackle, defensive end. You need as many, shots in the dark at the draft as you possibly can. So I'll say no on that for just one guy, even though you do get a fifth back. Excuse me. Thank you, my homie. I feel like I have okay. I feel like I have to pick between Thuney and a really good left tackle. I love Thuney, but very high cap hit and not a valuable position when you have Creed and Trey. So while that's not necessarily all the way out there, the three of them together make the best, probably the best interior offensive line in the NFL. And when you have the best interior offensive line in the NFL, you're able to have some deficiencies at your tackle a little bit. We've seen that with Andrew Wiley starting and Orlando Brown, who's not the best getting into his vertical sets. That's just kind of what happens. So I don't necessarily disagree. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with his cap hit and how they can maneuver it and make things different. But I think right now, at least for this year, Tooney will be in Kansas City. Maybe next year they move on. We'll have to kind of wait and see on that. But it's a tough one to figure out. But thank you for the question. All right. DJ, what's up? Do you think Karlaftis has played, outplayed and went better than a draft RGR faves, Boye Mafe and Cam Thomas? So this comes in, I think Ryan would be pretty happy with what Cam Thomas did last year. I haven't gone back and looked at what Boye Mafe did in Seattle. I know that there were some times that he played well, and I saw a couple of flashes from him, but I do believe he had an injury. I could be wrong about that. Yeah. I just hit the middle. Sorry, I'm going to explain this to my daughter really quick. Hold the middle button, and now go ahead and restart it. All right, so Boye Mafe and Cam Thomas. Not entirely sure how they played last year. I'd have to go back and.
When I go back to that, I will need to start over.
Oh yeah, you got to start over. Sorry, DJ. I'll answer your question. My daughter is just, being my daughter. So good job. You were able to restart it. All right. Like I said, I'd have to go back and look at those two specifically to know if he outplayed them. I know that down the stretch, he was probably one of the better defensive ends in the NFL. Rookie. You started it over.
Why did I?
Because you wanted to. He was one of the better rookie defensive ends in the NFL, being able to, generate pressures and get home to the quarterback. So there is that going for him. I think down the stretch he probably played better than both. If I had to guess right out the gate. So I thank you for that. We'll kind of do a review, probably for a film review, to see how George played and what he can improve upon going into next season. That's probably going to be on the docket after the draft for sure. Thank you, JT. Hyatt looks stiff. I'd prefer Tyler Scott, who has comparable speed but way better hips. That's not eliminating his available route tree. I don't disagree. I haven't seen Tyler Scott. I haven't been able to see much actual Cincinnati film. All 22. That's what I won't watch receivers. I won't watch these guys unless I have all 22 of them. So I haven't seen Tyler Scott. But yeah, I'm not a Hyatt fan. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you know that. I'm not really big on what he provides outside his speed. And that's going to become more relevant probably on Thursday. We'll see what tests he does. So we're probably on the same page there, if I had to guess. All right, guys, make sure you're getting the new gear. We got these in the gear store. Ryan was wearing the MVP hat. Those are awesome. I can't wait to get mine in the mail because, I have to have that. It's so awesome. So make sure you're checking out right here, the RGR store, and getting all your gear. Appreciate that, Night. But all right, Corbin, thank you for that. I really like A.T. Perry. Is he just a younger, maybe faster Juju? So, yeah, I see. So I don't think he's faster. I think that anywhere in his route stem and in the first maybe 5-10 yards of his route, he's relatively slow, but that's because he's a pretty big, lanky guy. He's got more deep, long speed maybe than Juju, but Juju's also been dealing with injuries. So I haven't been able to see what Juju's been able to do at full speed since before he was injured. So right now, he probably definitely has more long speed than Juju. So I'll take that part of it. Oops, wrong one. Thanks, Mohammed. What do you think of Chris Smith from Georgia? I appreciate your draft work every year. So I have not seen Chris Smith out of Georgia. I do apologize, Mohammed. You keep asking, and I'll probably get to him eventually, and I'll be able to answer your question. But I do apologize. I have not seen him, unfortunately. All right. So let me just kind of see what we got here for questions. All right. Deldrick, thank you for your question. Are you giving Saunders a 1-year deal like Derek Nottie had this year? Personally, I would give him a 2 or a 3-year deal. I think that he's earned that much from this level of play that he had this year. That's, again, my opinion. But it wouldn't shock me to see the Chiefs give him a 1-year deal and say, hey, can you do it again? Maybe can you improve, get a little bit better in what you do? So I would definitely wouldn't shock me to see them giving him a 1-year deal. I would go with a 2 or 3. I know. Good job, sweetie. Joel, appreciate that question. Marvin Mims. There's 2 Marvin Mims here. Clark Phillips. I haven't seen Clark Phillips, and I'm not a Marvin Mims fan myself. So I'm glad you like him. And again, there's definitely a possibility that these guys prove me wrong. And, there's always that. I'm going to be wrong. Like, that's just how the draft works. That's just how being an analyst works and breaking down film. I'm going to be wrong on some of these guys, and that's just how it's going to be. So hopefully Marvin Mims proves me wrong, because that's at the end of the day, that's what you want, especially for these players. You always want them to get better and to continue to grow in their NFL roles. Thank you for the question, Navo. Hey guys, love the show. Thank you. We appreciate that. I'm sure Ryan appreciates it too. Unfortunately, he's no longer right here with us. He has got some family issues and family stuff to go deal with. I believe he's driving his kids to a practice right now. If we restructure Frank Clark's deal, do we lose the $7 million in dead cap, or would we be able to avoid that? So I don't. I'm very sorry. I don't have a great answer, because cap stuff is not really my area. What I can do, though, is I can ask Chris Clark, from Locked On Chiefs, which you guys should all also listen to, who is more of the cap expert in that regard. From my understanding, if you renegotiate his deal, that would be not affecting the dead cap. I think it would just kind of move it in different ways. Maybe they can level it out differently. If somebody else has a better understanding of the cap, feel free to comment in here and let Navo know, because again, I'm not the best person to ask about this, unfortunately. What's up, Mac? How you doing? Hey guys, if we traded Snead, what would you need to get back to justify it? Also, what are some free agent draft options to fill his role, assuming you don't want to use Trent there exclusively? So, I believe if they did ever trade L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie would do what L'Jarius Sneed did. He'd play on the outside and kick into the slot on those third downs. That's just what I think he would do. He would essentially replace L'Jarius Sneed. It would need, we kind of mentioned off the top of the show, I would need at least 2 firsts to justify it, because again, we both believe that he's an ascending player in the defense and one of the better young up and coming defensive corners in the NFL. So I definitely don't think that it would need. I don't think you would be able to get away with anything less than 2 firsts, but that's just my thing. And right, I don't have the information in front of me for the free agent or draft guys. I haven't gotten in the cornerback room yet, but I will get there very soon. I think I'm going to switch over there after I do running backs this week. So I appreciate the question, Mac. What was I thinking about? I've seen multiple questions about Allen Lazard. I'm a big no on Allen Lazard, guys. No. I just don't like Allen Lazard's game. I don't think he's a great route runner. He doesn't offer anything after the catch, and he's basically just a contested catch guy at this point in his career. I'm a big no on Allen Lazard. So apologies if you had a question about Allen Lazard. I'm out on Allen Lazard. Rack up a few questions here. All right, here we go. Boom. All right, KP, what's up? Odds of Ross and Ross both making the roster at wide receiver. I would give it a 5% chance. I don't think John Ross is going to play in the NFL again. I think he'll just be a practice squad guy. And I don't know what Justin Ross can offer. I don't know if he can be healthy. We don't know anything about his condition and what he's going to be able to do, if he's going to be running by training camp, all that stuff. So it's just very, very out there to even think that they can play right now in the NFL outside of the practice squad. All right. What's up, Tyler? How you doing, man? Thank you for the super chat. Does Veach's strategy of drafting similar position groups make it tougher to keep together like offensive line and corners? Not necessarily, because they do a very good job of developing. And when you do draft as many corners as they did in safeties, that's probably out of necessity. They knew that they were going to need them, and it turned out they did. They had Rashad Fenton, who they just traded away for a 7th round pick, and they were starting a bunch of rookies early. So it felt like they knew that they needed to revamp the secondary and offensive line. You always need offensive linemen. Always, 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 whether on the practice squad, whether they're going to be on the roster. So I don't think there's any way that they'll be able to like not keep those guys together, unless you say you draft someone in like the 6th or 7th round and they just outplay the guys you have right now. Then that's a little bit different. But typically, you have a really nice pipeline for offensive line and corners, specifically in this offense and this defense. Corners are way more important in their offensive line right now than you always, like I said, I would say it again. Always, always, always need more offensive linemen than you have. If you have one tackle, you have none. Like that's what they say. You need as many as possible. So definitely, I don't think it's as difficult to keep them together. What happens more is if you get 5 guys that are really, really young and all of them turn into stud, that makes it harder to keep them together because they get paid and it takes cap space down. So that's what I would say to that. Appreciate you, man. What up, Mike? Any safeties in the draft that you'd like to see over Thornhill next year? I've only watched one safety this year. It's Brian Branch, and I would love to see Brian Branch in Kansas City. He's an absolute stud, and I think that he would be a great fit in this defense. But again, keep asking the questions. We will get to these players eventually. I'm sure Ryan has seen more, so maybe next Monday you come back and ask him. But I've only seen the one. I apologize. Again, I'm trying to get to as many top 100 guys as I possibly can this year. So I will have these answered for you guys, I promise, at some point. All right, I'm going to come through here and get some more questions. All right. Here's that. All right, here we go. I appreciate another question, Mohammed. I would love to have BJ Ojolari, but knowing how Spags likes his defensive ends, we're more in the Lucas Van Ness realm. Yes and no, because there's lots of talk about Lucas Van Ness going top 20, top 20, top 15-ish because of what he's about to do with the combine. I believe he's going to blow it up, and a lot of people expect him to. So that might push their want to a place where they can't get him. And again, we'll see how much emphasis on defensive end that Joe Cullen has. We know Chris Jones has singled him out specifically, so I'm hoping that we see a little bit more influence. Oh, please keep that away from the camera, the microphone, please. That's going to be very loud. What did I just say? Sorry about that. I know this microphone can echo a lot, so. All right. So yeah, BJ Ojolari again is more of just a pass rushing guy right now. He doesn't have a ton of run stopping ability, and it's just not in his game yet. I really, really like him as a pass rusher, but it's just not something that you can really count that he'll be able to play first and second down in the NFL. But yeah, unfortunately, the Chiefs right now that we know are more of a Keon White and Lucas Van Ness realm. Thank you, man. Yeah, she is just being a kid, Night Hunter. I'm just, trying to keep a straight face and not get overly mad. What do you think of defensive line Mozzie Smith? I haven't seen Moro. Mozzie, unfortunately to me, I think he's going to test. I mean, we know he's going to test well. He made it on Friedman's freak list for a reason. The dude is just outstandingly athletic. I don't know where he's going to fit in the NFL yet because Michigan did not use him in a lot of the same ways. They didn't ask him to do a lot of things that most defensive tackles that are that athletic do. They really didn't ask him to stop and shed very much. He was more shedding blocks late. He wasn't able to really close on the quarterback as often. When he did slide off of some tackles. So Smith right now projects for me more of a 2-down run stopper than anything else. And that's, it's not great for I mean, it's fine for what the Chiefs want because they do need a run-stuffing defensive tackle with Colin Saunders, who I do believe is going to be back. So it's not necessarily a terrible thing in that regard, but it's hard to see the upside there because I haven't been able to see it at Michigan. But that's sometimes it's just Michigan. Like Rashawn Gary, late bloomer, and now he's drafted at Green Bay. He's done great. He's done great, and Mike Dan has done the same thing. Played at Michigan. He's really bloomed this year. So maybe you never really know. How you doing, Grant? Thank you for the super chat. What wide receiver could be a good mid-round, maybe Tank Dell? I would love him to be a mid-round. I'd love for him to be in mid-round, but he's probably going early day 2. That's how good I think Tank Dell is. You've seen people mention Tyler Scott. He might be a late day 2 guy. I like the Princeton wide receiver, Iusovis. Oh, I probably just butchered that. Iusovis. I think he's going to test really well, but he's going to go on day 3. That's somebody else that could really help themselves this week at the combine by showing how athletic he is. There's a couple other guys that I'll get to eventually. Sweetheart, please don't hit that. I don't want to take it away, okay? I don't get to all the mid guys yet, but I think Jaden Reed is another guy that is probably going to go early day 3, round 4-ish, and I would love to see him in Kansas City. Appreciate that, Tom. Ryan's gonna be pretty happy that you switched your picture to that. Ryan, amazed Chiefs ran the ball, and you're not wrong. Ryan is amazed. I think all of us are a little bit of a bit.
That wasn't nice.
Avery, you're not being very nice right now. You're being very loud.
No, you're not being very nice.
Please stop. Yes, everyone's amazed that the Chiefs ran the football. They were able to really execute well in the Super Bowl and just take it all the way. Appreciate you, Tom. Thank you, Special K. I watched too much Iusovis footage this week. Do you think he'd be a good fit as a mid-round pick, or am I just falling for the speed? It's funny. We literally just mentioned him, so that's funny. I liked what he showed at the Senior Bowl. I think he did a really nice job of winning down the field, more of a ball winning type of feel for that at the Senior Bowl. He wasn't the best route runner there, but I think he got better as the Senior Bowl went along. And I really do think that he's going to show well at the combine this week. So I'd like to see him in Kansas City. I think he offers a lot more versatility with the athleticism. What up, Dad? Thank you. Where in the draft order do you see us taking an offensive lineman? Day 1, day 2. Very, very early. I think they'll be drafting tackle very, very early. So, yeah, I definitely think that's something that the Chiefs will need to address early. They might even double dip at tackle in this draft. So, all right. I'm going to probably have to cut this short here, you guys. She's just not letting me do my job very well. Thank you. It's okay. So, yeah, Dad, I think they're going to be taking an offensive lineman in the very, very early and probably 2, if not more. Thanks for the question, JT. I've seen a little bit of Mingo. Again, I saw him at the Senior Bowl as well. I wasn't hugely impressed with Mingo. I thought that he was very, very inconsistent. I didn't see a ton of the speed coming out of his breaks and the manipulation tactics I like to see in the route stem. Not a ton at the top of his route either. But, sometimes going to the Senior Bowl and having those repetitions and things like that, they don't always work out. And I'd like to see what he does at the combine before and get more into his actual tape, which I will do again after the combine to really get a better idea of him as a player. I appreciate you, Mike. Thank you for the question. If Cansey and Keon White and Foskey are on the board, who are you taking? Personally, I'd go with White for versatility. So,
White is not the right.
Oh, White's not right? No? So my daughter's out on White, Mike. I'm sorry. She's done. She doesn't want anything to do with Keon White. And I'm with her. I'm not a huge Keon White fan.
Why is we don't want that? But why you write yellow? That's what we want.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, there you have it. From my daughter's mouth. Word of mouth. So Kalijah is an interesting topic of discussion. It's tough to have a guy his size and be impact on run stops. You're really hoping that he comes in like at 6 foot. If he comes in under 6 foot, he's probably going to fall off a lot of people's boards. I want to see what Isaiah Foskey does with real development at defensive end. Notre Dame didn't use him properly, in my opinion, at all. They moved him all over the defense, made him playing linebacker, outside linebacker, defensive tackle, defensive end. They just moved him into coverage, did a ton of stuff with him. He was never able to really focus on defensive end. So I would like Foskey over the other guys because I do think that you have upside, a little more upside, younger upside as well in terms of a defensive end outside of Keon White. All right, we're going to do a last call here for any super chats and stuff like that because I'm going to get through what I've got lined up, and then we will be out for the night so I can take her to bed because she absolutely needs it. What's going on, RJ? How you doing, man? Thoughts on Tyler Steen versus Matt Bergeron? So I haven't seen Steen. I'll get to him, at some point. I'm sure we're gonna. There's lots of time, not much as much time as I'd like until the draft comes up. So I'm gonna have to power through some of these guys. But I don't hate Bergeron. I don't like him as a first round pick. If the Chiefs could get him in the second round, where they pick, maybe around 58-ish, where you're looking for, I think that would be a perfect spot for them to nab Matthew Bergeron, and then you can get him in Kansas City and then develop him. Where I think he does need a year to sit behind a guy like Orlando Brown and develop a little bit. So I like him as a player. I think he has more upside that's to be offered, and that's what they need. Again, tag Orlando Brown and then develop a guy other than that. All right, what's up, Canadian Chief? Here, the newest Eagles fans' excuse: groundkeeper with Chiefs ties make the field slippery. I don't. It's ridiculous. They were grooming that field for years. For 2 years, they were trying to get that. They're trying to get that done. So I can't get behind that. It's not really up to me to decide how they go about that. But it's a ridiculous excuse. Again, everyone played on the same field. Apparently, making it more slippery played into the Chiefs' hands. Whatever. You miss me with all that nonsense. Thanks, man. What's up, Nick? Thank you for the super chat. Why does Rashee Rice have hype? I personally don't see it at all. Some mocks have him above Downs, who I think has great separation skills, unlike Rice. So this is a great question because I've watched two of these guys in depth, and Rashee Rice is one of the biggest risers over the last maybe month and a half or so, and I don't totally get it. I understand he's a ball-winning guy. He's 6 foot, but he has some really nice ball-winning skills. He can go up and find the football. His ball tracking is really good. He makes spectacular catches all over the field, but he's a very inconsistent route runner. He's more of a build-up speed guy. Every now and then you see him get in and out of his breaks well. At half the time, he's falling out of his breaks. He's adding too many steps. He can't decelerate properly. So it's not really for me. I'm all over Josh Downs. Josh Downs is going to end up with my wide receiver 3 at some point. I feel like it is. He's just so good. I love Josh Downs, and I'm probably going to be higher on him than 90% of everybody, and I'm okay with that. Rashee Rice isn't a bad player. I do think that there is some work that he's done from the end of the season into the Senior Bowl, and we'll see him again at the Combine. So I'm hopeful that he can continue this path of being coachable because he was coachable at the Senior Bowl, and I'm hopeful he can do that. So thank you for the super chat, man. Appreciate it. What's going on, Frank? If we trade Orlando Brown to the Bears for the 32nd pick, approximately how far up the draft could we get by packaging 31 and 32 together? I think the value based off of memory would be close to 15, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there. You'd have to add more to be able to get him all the way to the top. in terms of like top 10-ish, but I think around pick 15, 12-ish in the area. Don't quote me on that. That's just something based off of memory from people talking about it last year with the Chiefs. So that's my probably inaccurate opinion of it. So I appreciate that. Thank you for the question. Okay, what's up, info? Is it just me or is the draft a replacement for Kelsey talk premature? Mock drafts taking a tight end in the first one. We have lots of needs to fill. Seems crazy to me. So I know where this is coming from. My guy Damien just did a mock draft for TDN with the Chiefs taking Michael Mayer. And newsflash for you guys watching, I will be watching Michael Mayer this week and doing my film review on Michael Mayer as a possible draft pick. Just give me 1 second. So we'll get to see his skill set and how he matches up, because I have a lot of thoughts on this and I'm going to get all of really into it and dive into it in the film room. So I appreciate you asking the question, info, because this does allow me to set up for the film review. What's up? You're welcome. All right. We're cranking through. I appreciate you guys. You're doing a good job helping keeping me on my toes here. Okay. Oh, now you're hungry again? Okay, go get a snack, please. You can have one snack.
Yes.
All right. Gary, appreciate you, man. Thank you for being in here. Do you see the Chiefs if they draft the Georgia running back McIntosh? So I like McIntosh, and I think you guys know that Ryan likes Kenny too. We talked about him a little bit last night, and I would love if he fell into the 4th round. I think that would be a really nice 1-2 punch with Isaiah Pacheco and Kenny, because Isaiah is a bruiser. He wants to go and he wants to seek out contact a little bit here and there. He's not the best pass catcher. He's not the best pass protector. He's not necessarily the best in between the tackles with his vision, but he finds a hole. He's going to hit it. And he's going to run somebody over in the process. And Kenny is a nice complement to that pass catcher. Maybe not the best pass protecting, but he has the body type and the will to want to do it. And he's also, in my opinion, underrated between the tackles. So I would love to have that 1-2 tandem in Kansas City if he fell to the 4th. Thanks for the question, Dan. Do you see the Chiefs running it back with the same wide receiver group as the previous season? I don't. I don't see them realistically bringing both Juju and MVS back. It doesn't. I mean, I guess to me it doesn't make a ton of sense, but that's not. I'm not in the room and I don't get to have opinions on that. I think they should move on from MVS, bring Juju Smith-Schuster back. That's what I think they should do. But I don't believe Justin Watson will be here next year either. So yeah. Again, just my 2 cents on the topic. Got a couple last questions here. All right. What's up, Scotty? How you doing, man? Appreciate you being here tonight. Appreciate all of you being here, actually. Thank you guys for being here on a Monday night asking the questions. Is Spag's contract up? I don't think so. I think there's the biggest reason that he's been talked about as not being in Kansas City anymore in the future, or maybe after this year, is retirement talk. What? Okay, so go ahead. Yes, when you're done, you can have that. It's more about retirement if he's getting to the point where he doesn't want to do this anymore, and I get that. There's been a lot of talk, especially with most people wanting Spags gone. Fans want Spags gone. I mean, I'll admit it. For the large part of the last 2 years, I did. And then when I started to see what he's been doing in this season, the end of this season, and again, going back to the seasons before, how they continuously get better after the bye. That is the huge thing for me. These Chiefs defenses, while they haven't been great, this has been the best one they've had under Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback and Steve Spagnuolo. Even better than the defense that won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. They get better after the bye week every single year. That matters. I don't care so much anymore about starting the season off bad. When you have an offense and Patrick Mahomes that can win those games anyway, they're collecting data. The offense is collecting data. The defense is collecting data. And in the bye week, they implement it. And then they go all the way through. That's what makes them better. And that's why I've really turned a corner on Steve Spagnuolo. So, no, I don't believe his contract's up. But I do believe that he will be in Kansas City as long as he wants to be in Kansas City. Thanks for the question, man. What's going on, BL? What position do you think gets drafted early in gets addressed early in free agency? Wide receiver, edge, or offensive tackle? I don't think there's any real offensive tackles on the free agent market worth bringing in. You might see a pass rush specialist, defensive end brought in. You also could see them dabble bringing in a guy like DJ Chark. I do believe they'll add one wide receiver, one depth wide receiver for in free agency. So that's what I think. I don't think you'll see a tackle, but you might see an edge and an offensive, a wide receiver coming in. So that's what I say to that. What's up, Holly? How you doing? Thank you for the super chat. Are you doing great, Dan? Appreciate you. No, thank you. I know my wife is in here, or at least she was in here right now. Trying to like say she'll be here for the draft and stuff. It's okay. Like, yeah, this is what I do. I love what I do. I love being a father. I love being a stay-at-home dad. And as much as she might get on my nerves while I'm working, I know that she just wants to be a part of what I do. So I try not to let the little nitpicky things. I know sometimes I can still get frustrated, as we all do. Being parents is not the easiest thing in the world. But she's with me. She likes to be a part of what I do. And, we watch film together, and she's on here as much as I am sometimes. So I just try to make it work as best I can. And I'm appreciative that a lot of you seem to understand that and appreciate that, I'm here doing it with all of you, with her as well. So thank you, Holly. That it means a lot that all of you are here and continuing to, ask me questions when I'm here. Got the little one in the background, making it a little bit more difficult for me to do my job. So, okay. She's going to go do something really quick. But again, thank you, Holly. That's very appreciative. What's going on, Tom? Any thoughts? Again, thank you for the super chat once more. And he keeps changing his pictures. That's great. Any thoughts on where the Chiefs could go to fill holes in the later rounds, players, positions? And great job, guys. So, the running back, I do believe, will be a later round addition. We'll probably see another safety drafted in the late rounds. Definitely an offensive line at some point. Player specifics, I don't have a lot. I'm probably not going to get to a ton of the later round guys this year. I don't have time. Unfortunately, I'm very sorry, Tom. Like, I would love to get to as many of these guys as I could, but I just don't have the realistic time to get to all 200 plus guys that are going to get drafted. It's an unfortunate thing. We talk about the Chiefs all season, and the guys that cover the draft, like Dane Brugler and the guys that work at TDN and Pro Football Network, all those people that have specific draft centric jobs get to do that, and we just don't get the time. So I'll do my best to get some names to you before the draft is here. You have my word on that, Tom. Appreciate the super chat, man. What's up, Austin? At what number does the Chris Jones extension start at? I'm assuming you mean average per year. I would say it starts at 25. That's where I say it starts. He probably is going to get closer, upwards of 30. That's pretty much it. Like, this is what we're talking about. Aaron Donald was hurt this year, but he also was having a down year to begin with. So I think Chris Jones effectively took over as the best defensive tackle in the NFL this year. And I know that that's going to be spicy for a lot of people outside of Kansas City, but I just don't think there's much arguing what he was able to do this year and what he continuously can do. All right, cool. You want to bring me those so I can open it? Yeah. So yeah, I'm fully on board with Chris Jones getting pretty much whatever he wants. As long as he's going to be in Kansas City and they want him in Kansas City, I'm down. I think you tried to open it though. That's good.
What's that?
I don't know. Looks like a video. Oh, it's a Nintendo Switch.
Huh?
Sorry, this is going to be a little loud, guys. You can have a few of these. Yes. There you go. All right. Again, appreciate the question, Austin. All right. We got last one here, and then I see Teddy threw one in here for me. Appreciate you. Death Ross, I did already answer the Alan Lazard stuff. I apologize. I'm not interested in Alan Lazard. What's up, Oregon? Thank you for the question. Dan, do you think that they will be drafting players to fit Joe Collins' style and possible defensive DC position and schemes since Spags might have a year or so left in him? We'll see how much time Spags has left. I think he can. I think Andy will let him do whatever he wants to, and I'm starting to lean into letting him be here as long as he wants to. But I do think you might see him start now that they have a real, I'm not going to say that. That's really rude. That Joe Cullen is in Kansas City. And after this season, proven that he can get a lot of production out of the guys that they used, you might see Steve Spagnuolo start to hand a little bit more of the reins off. This draft class will give us a lot of insight as to how the Chiefs plan of attacking this defensive tackle, defensive end, this entire defensive line room. If you start to see some bendier, speedier guys off the edge, that is directly Joe Cullen's influence, and I'll be very happy to see that. So I think that we definitely could start to see a little bit more influence as early as this draft class. Appreciate that, man. It was a good question. All right, last one before we are heading out of here tonight. Teddy, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. How realistic it is that they re-signed Juju? Saw a report that Jacoby Myers could get Kirk money. Yes, that's very true, especially in this market. If they lose him, who's a better fit or the overall player between Addison and JSN? So the better overall player, in my opinion, is Jackson Smith-Njigba. He gets open no matter what. The one thing that he has on every receiver in this draft class, every single one, is that he is a master technician and he reads defenses like a quarterback. He can easily get open against man, against zone. He knows how to sit in the soft spots and get open to your quarterback. He's not going to have the home run hitting speed. I don't know that Jordan Addison consistently has home run hitting speed, and we'll see at the combine what he runs. But Addison seems lost a little bit at times, in my opinion. Again, I don't think he's as great of a route runner as he's getting pegged to be. I think there's a lot of times where he will let a corner know where he's going, and physicality can really bother him. Jackson Smith-Njigba's short area quickness within his stem allows him to create separation even against press. That's something I haven't seen a ton out of Jordan Addison. So I know a lot of people fall in love with the shorter, the speedier guys that have the big plays down the field. I don't think that JSN was better than Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave like a lot of people do, but he's a very, very good receiver, and he's closing in on being the best receiver in this draft class for me. So I would take Jackson Smith-Njigba specifically for this offense because of the way he can get open and always be that type of what we saw Juju being towards the back half of the season, getting into those soft spots and zones, getting open when Travis Kelce was doubled or things like that. So yeah, I would say JSN over Jordan Addison because of what he offers as getting as a guy who can get open. I appreciate that. It's a really, really, really good question, Teddy, and thank you for the super chat. Whew, we did it. We got through. We were able to get all the way through the questions. Again, I appreciate you guys being here with me tonight while Ryan had to go take his daughter to practice. And yeah, this is the offseason. We got lots and lots and lots of draft content coming here and on NFL33.com. Don't forget that we have tons of everything. Draft, Chiefs, film, it's all coming every day of the week. We're going to have content for you guys. So you guys are great. I appreciate everything you were able to do and showing your support for me and Ryan, the entire channel. But we can't thank you guys enough. So you have a great rest of your week. We will have, again, more content every single day. Believe you'll have something from Gary tomorrow. If I'm wrong, well, then I'm wrong. But you will have something for me on Wednesday. All right. You guys have a great night. I'll see you next time.